Hello and welcome in. I am MissKinghorn and we are back here in The Sims 4 and today we are building a pumpkin patch park. And this actually is in Windenburg and it's in the Windslar neighbourhood, which is kind of like the really nice sort of countryside area of Windenburg. It is actually on a 40 by 30 size lot. It was originally the Mulch family home. Now I've got to be honest with you, as soon as a pack comes out, the first thing I do, evict all the families, delete the lots. I like a blank canvas in there, so I have no idea what this looked like originally, who really was in here, but hey, that's just me. You can tell me who this family really were into there, but yeah, this has been one of those builds that I've had on my list of builds I really want to do. I've just never got round to actually doing it. It's just been sitting there for pretty much years, and I thought one day I'm gonna do it, and so I sat down and decided today's the day into there. And yeah, now I'm not a big lover of Halloween or anything kind of spooky, so this is my representation of Halloween. A very nice soft park in here. It has all of the requirements for a park, so like the play equipment, the chess table, toilets, benches, things like that. All of that does actually get put in here, so you can have this all year round if you really wanted to, but obviously it's more an autumny kind of type build for this time of year into there. Now you can see here I am messing around with terrain paint. I apologise for this because a lot of this changes. I really wanted this to kind of set out how this all looked, and it does. Unfortunately, I don't particularly like it. It looks a little bit too like I've gone around with crowns. You know, as a little kid, you just, yeah, it just was not really feeling right for me. So I end up actually changing quite a lot of that. You'll see later on. But for now, we are working on the sort of grasses and things like that around the edge. Now, you will notice this looks very green, very lush. We are building this without a sim on the lot, so I don't have like seasons connected at this point. Obviously, I have it in game, but without a sim on the lot, nothing really works in that terms. So yeah, it does change, and you'll notice some of the screenshots that I take at the end are very green, very lush, and that is because they are taken in build mode. And then some of them are from a later date where I basically have sims on the lot, and it is then your lush sort of autumn kind of event like you would normally get into there. But yeah, using these new fences, I love these fences. There is one issue. You see that one that had slats missing? I really wanted to use that, except they don't quite, they're not the same size. So I had a little bit of difficulty trying to get that to actually, yeah, basically I tried and I failed, and then I gave up and just used this solid one in there. And I have these basically on all three sides of this build, and I've left the back open because I kind of wanted it to be like it rolls into the sort of farmland sort of area around at the back, like there's more sort of thing rather than just the two areas of pumpkins that we get in this build here. Now this is the front sort of entrance area here. I really like how this actually all comes together in the end. We have this giant big sign that I thought looked perfect sort of for going in there as a really nice sort of gate opening into there. And then obviously with all of like the toilets and the seating and things like that at the front entrance, I kind of felt like it was an area where your sims could wait for their like loved ones, or if the children were in the loo or doing something like that, they can sort of sit there and relax whilst everything else is sort of going on into there. That was the plan anyway. Yeah, things do change because I have placed that big sort of entrance gate archway thing in. I had to rearrange some of the seating and things like that and hay bales But anyway, we are now going to use these fences. I absolutely love how this all comes together. So not sure what actual pack they came from, but these, I think we've had them from quite a few packs now anyway, worked really well as nice little fencing areas. So what I really wanted to do is kind of fence off the two kind of main pumpkin areas in here for sort of, so that they can be shut off from like animals getting in, or when it's closed or something, or like at the end of the season when everybody's got their pumpkins, they can be shut off, so it's just for staff, those sorts of things into there. And then also this rope sort of one along that side, a little bit less slack, so I guess we can say, into there. This is really the first time I have really explored the Adventure Awaits debug and live edit. We haven't really paid too much attention to those, so I thought this would be a good time to have a look at what we've got in there. Now, you are going to notice there are a few changes. I had to do some computer upgrades and I lost everything. I know, rookie mistake. I should have backed up my saves, but nothing was supposed to change. My hard drive was supposed to stay exactly as it was. Unfortunately, my hard drive decided I do not like these changes. I'm going to start deleting things, including quite a few game files. So yeah, I have spent over the last week, 10 days, I have spent days reinstalling everything. From The Sims to Planet Zoo, City Skylines, all of those other games that I've played either here on my channel or that I just have. Yeah, I lost them all. I have lost like everything. I did manage to recover a couple of my save files. Everything kind of got a little bit mixed up. So I have managed to save some bits. But yeah, it was a bit of an issue, especially because things obviously uploaded to my gallery, they're not in my library, so it just was not, yeah, it's been a thing. But yeah, eventually I got there. So if you see something that says that this item's new, it's not. It's new to me because this is a completely new game file. I am doing this in a new save, in everything. I have had to go through and click and say yes, everything's new, to get rid of those little star things that you normally get. Yeah, I forgot a couple of categories. Anyway, we have now planted up this sort of middle section into here with all of that, the rocks that I really love, and I love the different colours we've used in there because it just adds that nice little sort of flair and lots of sort of colours coming through. And then all the planting in there, lots of kind of roses, lots of sort of hydrangeas, and I think they're alliums, from my limited plant knowledge. I had some as a kid, they grew massive. Anyway, because we are playing with Assembly Locked, everything is green, they all sort of change colour once we get into sort of autumn and things like that. But now it's time for trees. We kind of go a little bit OTT with trees, but I feel like if it's a park, it really needs some. So there are quite a few in this sort of build, and I love the sort of changing different colours. Because obviously I think like cats and dogs, and then also seasons have different kind of trees in there. I really wanted it to tie into this world, but also kind of make it look seasonal into there as well. Now, what are we on to? So yeah, just more trees, and then we're going to come up to this sort of back section. So we actually have a actual building on here. Now this, with the new items into here. This was set out originally to hold kind of the sort of the shop element of this. So you don't just go up to a pumpkin place and steal all their pumpkins. You have to buy them. And so I thought, let's create a little kind of shop sort of space area where you can actually do that. Now, I didn't place a cash register because I didn't want to make this into a retail lot, because you can't really buy pumpkins in game. It just doesn't really work. So what I decided to do in here is create some giant table displays of pumpkins maybe you don't have time for actually buying them and you just want to come up and pick one up into there, and that's what totally fine, that's what you can do in there. But we do also get out the I think it's the Autumn Fair food and drink store that came with seasons. I'm not entirely sure if that's the right name, but hey, they do like hot chocolate and orange juice and like spice juices and stuff like that. Anyway, that's as far as my playtesting went. It works in there, because one of the criteria for a park is that we have to have this sort of seating out here, so we've kind of checkboxed that off into there. And I also created a little I think it's the Home Chef Hustle table out here as well, just because I really wanted you to be able to create like pumpkin pies and pumpkin soup and things like that and sort of sell it on, that kind of thing, because I feel like that's something you would do at a pumpkin patch. I've got to be honest, I don't particularly like Halloween or pumpkins or anything like that. I did actually get a pumpkin the other year because apparently they're cat safe. Yeah, my cat just looked at it and like, what are you doing? That's disgusting, get it away from me. Anyway, she was not impressed, and in the end it got thrown in the bin. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, anyway, the sort of displays here that we create. Now I cheat a little bit here. You'll see I only build one and then copy and paste with the wonderful tool, because I do not have time or patience to create numerous versions of these into here. So this is the orange one. Now you would have noticed there are 4 tables, because for some reason in my head I thought there were 4 colours of pumpkins. Turns out there's only 3. There is these orange, there is a white and a green. Where the yellow one comes from, I have no idea, unless it is not tagged as a pumpkin. I don't know. I scoured probably about 20 minutes of this for this missing pumpkin. I couldn't find it. But anyway, here is me copying and pasting and changing them into white and then into green into here. For some weird reason, the green ones are the only ones that didn't actually turn out right with Tor. I don't really know what I did wrong. Anyway, I have to move all of these up into there. But yeah, this is the area where I thought these ones are like pre-cut, they're not carved, they're just sort of ready for you to take away and do all of those sorts of bits and pieces, and then just undercover into here. And yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking in there. And then we get out these gorgeous ones that are on display. Why do we not have these as actual sort of pumpkin colours? I don't know, because there are some gorgeous striped ones and different sizes and things. Why are they all in a cluster of 3? But anyway, I place them pretty much everywhere into here. So yeah, and we do also have the swing set you can see at the back here. That is just a playground activity. I did think about creating a big new slide climbing frame thing. There really wasn't space. There really isn't space for the swing set either. You do kind of clip into the grass, but I figured that was just one of the things you were just going to have to live with, I'm afraid, into there. We do also have the other bits and pieces, so there are pot plants all around the place. There are these sort of thermal kind of heating lamps, which I think actually work really well, because for me, I would do this kind of like after school, after work, kind of in the evening where it's a little bit colder. And I would just want somewhere nice and warm in there. So that's why I figured we would have lots of those all over the place, just so you can warm your hands as you're going around into there. That's kind of what I was thinking in there. We do also have the chess set and a couple of benches. They're just sort of check boxes for the items that we needed. Again, and they're just something that I had to place in, but I feel like it really works, and I really like how that sort of middle sort of strip of planting really separates how this all looks into there. But now we are finally into actually doing work with the pumpkins. So we have these 2 giant areas on either side of this that are just completely bare. Now, way I do this is I layer some plants up. So we use the horse ranch sort of ground shrub plant. It comes in this sort of gorgeous kind of dying green, but it's really, really leafy, and I thought it would just look perfect in there. And then I just wanted some longer sort of grasses coming through. So we end up actually using the horse kind of, I think it's like prairie grass, in there that the horses eat. And it just kind of looks really, really good. And then lots of pumpkins going through, and also the carving tables for them as well. Now, I do place them in yellow or in orange, and then I change them up into the different colours so that you have a really nice mix. Because I don't know if you can say I just want orange pumpkins, or like, you know, like with peppers, you get like green peppers that then mature into like yellow peppers that go into orange and red. They're basically the same plant, it just their different lifespan. I don't know if that's a thing with pumpkins. I really don't know. I don't like them. They taste disgusting to me, personally. But anyway, now we have a really busy series and sort of coming up. We have loads of new games coming out that I really want to try and get into the channel. So we're gonna kind of not necessarily take a break, but we're gonna diversify into lots of different areas over the sort of the coming months. Power Lives is obviously coming out. There is a new game coming out, Outside the Blocks, which I absolutely love, and looked at some of the early access stuff to that as well, and looks super cool. So we're going to try that out. But yeah, now here is the sort of flower court. I think it's from My Wind Stories. I think it's like one of those sort of rabbit holes where you can choose your bouquet sort of thing in there. And we've also got some pot plants, because, you know, what's a build of mine without plants? Anyway, we sort of get all of those in, and then we're just sort of on to the final sort of finishing touches of all of this build. Now, I wanted some decals. Now, that's great, right? Except for one thing. Nothing is straight, right? Nothing in this build, except for this building obviously, is actually at a 90-degree angle. So I ended up having to kind of change around and manipulate, and yeah, I had some fun because that was a pain. But now we're getting some fallen leaves all over the place just to make it look a little bit more autumny, even in build mode. But this build is now available up on the gallery, and you can download it from there. You can also find me on pretty much all social medias, and you can subscribe to me here on YouTube as well. The links to all of the social media and stuff are down in the description, so make sure you check that out. And yeah, you can see me in the next build really, really soon. But until then, bye everyone!